Teresa Dawn asked, sorry if you've already answered this question. I was curious if you have a planned release date for the game. No, we're driving at specific milestones one at a time to figure that out and figure out what release will actually mean or look like. We're currently working on a proof of concept. So we're making a thorough vertical slice of all of the core features, functionality, and representative content. And our first big goal for this year is before the end of the year, we want to get people in and playing with us. At this point, we've got an installer, patcher, launcher. We're using Sola. So we're using the Sola software or service. So that's handling all of that for us, and it's good because it can be GDPR compliant and handle registration and subscription and security and all of that other stuff. So that takes a bit of the burden off our shoulders. So you can currently get a link, download the game, install it, and play it. So we're confident in our goal of being able to get people in. But the challenge that we have is we want to make sure that as we start to get people in, we've already done at least a decent first pass on client security. I'm working right now to get content in at the initial sort of starting content. Hand in your newbie note, get your first couple of quests, and then you're kind of on your own. We're not a quest driven game. We're very old school in the sense that we're not holding your hand. You've got to sort of explore and make your own way. There will be quests throughout the game, but it'll be very much that old style. There's no question marks over NPCs' heads or any of that stuff. You really do have to go and like talk to NPCs and figure out sort of what's going on. So anyway, the goal of getting people in is really just more about we want to work on some usability issues. We want to work on a little bit of performance, but honestly, I personally don't think that's going to gate us from starting to get a few people in to check things out. My primary concern, to be honest, is just getting a little bit of content for folks to have something to do, even if that's not the focus of the playtest, and security. And everything on top of that is it's just sort of like icing on the cake. And then once we get in that habit and understand how we're going to handle playtests and a sort of allocation of keys and timing with regards to playtest and also I think most of it is just sort of in feedback and how we want to handle feedback, all of that. For the initial playtest, it should be pretty straightforward because our initial playtests aren't going to be focused on like, tell us what you think about the class or tell us what you think about, the quest you're just on. It's really just going to be about tech and stability. And then once we get that done, we'll get a better impression of sort of where we're at on those fronts. And then really after that, it's going to be more and more about getting the remaining missing features in, especially ones that are sort of critical loops, and then a lot of content. And so working on all of the proof of concept content. Yeah, so next year should be an interesting one for us because in some form or fashion, we'll be able to broaden the number of people that we have in and playing with us, and we'll be able to broaden our definition of a playtest and go from there. If we're getting people in and from a technical standpoint, things are going very well, we're happy from a security standpoint as well. If the content's coming along, and if the feedback from people that we start getting in more and more is that they're enjoying themselves, it feels like even with a subset of content that we're retaining folks pretty well, and you're happy. Then we'll talk about what a launch may look like, how we want to move forward with being able to scale the content, all of that, right? So consider this just sort of the first step. Yeah, as soon as we figure all that out, we'll definitely have more word on playtest. Have we talked about account resets prior to official launch? Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things that people just have to be aware of. There will be a state prior to whatever state we consider like, all right, things, this server will remain as is as we move forward, that people should just realize that's not your forever character. Tapper said, not that they're exactly the same, but I love that about Dark Souls. You find your way around and learn the story in whatever order you choose. Well, I mean, a lot of the discussion about making this game, I mean, this game is being made because we discussed on stream what it would be like to make a game like this, and just started doing it. And I mean, I originally got back into playing EverQuest and then streaming EverQuest because I was playing Escape from Tarkov, and it was, you know, it was no hand holding and very brutal, and that reminded me of EQ. And so, and then from there, I mean, I think we've talked a lot about the Souls games and how it's, you know, how there's a market for people that are looking for something that's a bit harder, a bit more free form.